Hello comrades, this is Comrades Entertainment, and today we will be watching a fancy romantic drama called 3000 Years of Longing, directed and produced by George Miller, with the main writer being Augusta Gore, who took the role after her father passed away. The film premiered and released to theatres in 2022. It cost $60 million to make, and is based on a few different short stories in the book The Djinn in the Nightingale Eye, written by A.S. Byatt, with 1001 Arabian Nights being main influence. The film has celebrity actors, featuring Tilda Swinton as Alethia, Idris Elba as the Djinn, Amita Lagum as Queen Sheba, and many more. So the main plot of the film is about a woman called Alithea who goes to Istanbul to speak about stories, mythology, and science. She believes she is content with life and is strong into believing in science and reality. But her life gets turned upside down when she releases a genie-like djinn from his bottle. The two tell their stories, and Alethea debates whether she should make her 3 wishes or not. You can watch this film as part of Amazon Prime, or buy on YouTube or Google Play. The film has many secrets and points of interest, as well as many mythical creatures that even I haven't heard of before. Some of these include the followers of Bliss, a Bliss possibly meaning the devil or leader of devils and demons. The one found in the film starts as human, but turns into a giant spider-like creature, and it's not certain if this is a demon or magic user of some kind, but it is quite thrilling and terrifying to see. We also have the Ifrit, which is a demon creature that is often associated with the underworld and the spirits of the dead. Both of these creatures are in Islamic mythology. We also have other djinn-like characters that appear both in Alethea's life and the djinn's story. The one you can see on screen now first appears as Alethea's speech, but it also appears in Sheba in the djinn's flashback. This makes us debate whether Alethea is imagining all this, or has some kind of special and spiritual connection. Djinn are often referred to as invisible creatures, or spirits in Islamic culture. In the film, we also get a lot of references to the number 3, which is a powerful number in magic and mythology. We can see the physical reference in the form of Alethea's hotel room, and the number written as 333, as well as the Arabic 3 on the train's window. We also have 3000 in the title, the number of years for the djinn, as well as the fact he tells 3 stories, and a few more examples across the film as well. Another interesting point is that Alethea could reference the Greek goddess Alethea, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, which was often seen as a goddess of truth. Okay, with all that said, let's go to my spoiler-free review of the film, and 3000 Years of Longing is a must watch if you're a fan of fantasy or mythology, and could even be enjoyable even if you're just a casual film viewer. The film has great acting with some celebrity actors, and amazing scenes and special effects that I wish I could show, but sadly couldn't find the clips of these moments, at least not all of them. The story is interesting and makes you want to find out what happens next. It could do with more music overall, but the film does also have a few good moments for music as well. Even though I thought it was okay, a few people felt like the last act before the ending could have been improved too. So with all that in mind, it's a great film and it's worth a watch. It has some errors to improve, but the majority of the film is entertaining. A 4 out of 5 stars, I would say. And there's our review, so let's move on to the recap of the film. Be warned of spoilers from this point on, and know that any clips and images used in this video are believed to be used under the fair use rules, and belongs to this film's producers and company, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. Any clips are uploaded by separate and individual people, and I will link and reference them in the description below, when I can. We start the film overlooking a landing plane of our main character, Alethea, arriving to Istanbul, for a speech on mythology. The plane's company is a fictional one called Shahrazad Airlines, and this is a reference to the storyteller who told the story of 1001 Nights, and his name is referenced a few times elsewhere in the film. After landing, Alethia confronts an unusual person who is hot to touch, and tries to lead Alethia somewhere before running off and disappearing when her friends arrive. The group said they didn't see the stranger and debates whether it was a djinn or untrustworthy taxi driver. Alethia then talks on the stage to a large audience with one of her friends. They talk about stories, mythology, and how they explained the mysteries of the world before science arrived. They use stories from DC and Marvel as examples, and this scene also is actually in respect to Tilda Swinton's role in Marvel, as you may have seen from the Doctor Strange films. And the DC picture in the background could reference a Justice League comic book that George Miller wanted to make a film of, but ended up being replaced with something else. While Alethia talks and looks to the audience, she sees another unusual person, slowly getting closer until it lunges at her, saying rubbish to her speech, making her pass out as well. Once again, no one else sees this person, even after helping the unconscious Alethia. After recovering, the group goes shopping to relax, and Alethia eventually finds a blue bottle, despite her friend saying not to waste her money, as it was burnt, as well as the shopkeeper not knowing if it was a genuine old artifact or a remake. Alethia believes it has an interesting story to tell, and buys it anyway. After returning to her hotel, she uses her electric toothbrush to clean the new bottle. I don't imagine that would be very hygienic to use that toothbrush again. Anyway, while cleaning the bottle, its lid is open, and an unusual gas-like thing comes out and forms a giant foot that is coming from the other side of the room. Going into the other room, Alethia finds a giant man in her room. After closing her eyes and counting, believing she is imagining all this, the man is still there. She speaks different languages until recognizes the ancient Greek of Homer. They use this language to talk until the man is able to absorb the knowledge and English language from a nearby TV and books. The giant man explains he is a djinn, and in exchange for freeing him from the bottle, he offers her 3 wishes, but explains the rules of not having more wishes, not being able to be immortal, or not being able to change the past. The djinn shrinks to a normal human size after Alethia gets rid of a knocking hotel staff, and the two start to talk about their stories. After Alethia tells the djinn about her imaginary friends during her lonely childhood, Djinn tells the story of how he first got trapped in the jar. Thousands of years ago, he loved his half-djinn cousin, who was Queen Sheba. Eventually, King Solomon arrives to woo her, starting with music. Impressed with Solomon's music with a sentient instrument, she challenged him to find a specific ribbon, find her mother's name, and tell her what all women desire. Thanks to his magical abilities to communicate with animals and demons, he uses ants and a demon called Ifrit to get what the Queen requests and desires. After completing the challenges, Sheba agrees to please King Solomon, and as they make love, the djinn cries out his heart's desire for Sheba, upset with it all. Solomon hears his cry and uses his powerful magic to trap the djinn in a nearby brass bottle, using the ribbon he got to seal it before throwing the djinn in the bottle out the window, to an eagle that drops it far into the ocean. Sheba does nothing as she never fully loved the djinn as much as he loved her, and now she is with Solomon. After Alethia and the djinn talks about the first story, back in the present, we move on to the second story. After praying to all the gods for escape and being angry for no reply for hundreds of years, the djinn eventually tries to trick himself into wanting to stay in the bottle. But this doesn't work, and for the Djinn is the closest to death he can be. The Djinn goes through the cycle again and again, while the bottle is finally found by the fisherman, but is thrown away as it is encrusted and looks like a rock. The rock-looking bottle is used in multiple ways until finally placed as part of a wall, which is then broken when a young girl called Gulten falls off from trying to climb it. Gulten was spying on the Prince Mustafa, whom she loves, but he does not know her as she is a slave in the palace courtyard. With the bottle finally seen, Gulten tries to break the rest of the rock away from the bottle, accidentally opening it as well. As the giant Djinn leaves the bottle, Gulten is so shocked she passes out, with the Djinn narrowly catching her. After waking her up, promising not to harm her, he tells Gulten she has 3 wishes. She wishes to be with Prince Mustafa, and later on wishes to be pregnant by him. Before they talk about the wishes, the Djinn convinces Gulten to hide the bottle so no one can take it from her. While Gulten gets her wishes and dreams come true, the wife of the Sultan Suleiman, known as Hurrem, worries that her children will not become the future Sultan because of Gulten and Mustafa's new unborn child. She tricks the Sultan and says that his son is conspiring to kill him and take his kingdom. With the kingdom's soldiers being tired of the Sultan's peaceful ways, the Sultan believes her. Making the difficult choice, the Sultan orders his assassins to use his bowstring and kill the prince. With the prince dead, the Djinn tries to warn Gulten that she is next, and to make the 3rd wish to save them both, but she is too scared and runs off, just to be captured by the Sultan's soldiers and a follower of Abyss, that turns into a spider-like creature and uses his magic to stop the Djinn. After the monster leaves, the Djinn dives into the ocean to save Gulten, but is too late. With Gulten dead, no one could sense or see the Djinn for hundreds of years, and he could do nothing but wander as a ghost. Until he found a young prince, Murad, who had hairy legs like Queen Sheba, and could sense the Djinn. With this, the Djinn tells Alethia of his 2nd story. With Murad and his brother trying to open a stone slab in a secret bathroom where Djinn's bottle was hidden, the 2 boys use Murad's sword as a lever to open the slab. But before they could, their mother arrives and takes them away. Murad was now 14 and had to rule the kingdom, being too distracted to tear the Djinn again. Years pass and the King Murad was now an adult in constant war and fighting, and the Djinn had lost all hope that he would be found, as Murad often fought dangerously. Yet somehow, despite this danger, Murad survived it all and didn't die. With Murad risking his life and not being married, his mother focuses on his brother Likin to make a child, to keep the kingdom in their family for the future. She locks him in a room that is covered in animal furs, for whatever reason, and makes it a prison he would never want to leave, with beautiful women and plenty of nice food. Hakim ends up liking larger women the most, and believes that the more flesh a person has, the greater the enjoyment. King Murad returns from his conquest, but still has murderous rage within him, making him often kill his own people. He eventually targets his brother, thinking him as a threat to his crown, but his mother is able to convince Murad that his brother is like a baby and cannot survive outside his room or rule a kingdom. Their mother constantly keeps Murad drunk and sends in storytellers to keep him distracted. However, most of these storytellers don't please Murad and are often killed if they don't escape in time. All but one storyteller fails, the one being an old man who is able to befriend Murad and spend their time together, telling great stories, which the Djinn in his ghost-like state also hears. Eventually the storyteller dies of his old age, and all flee the palace in fear of how Murad would react. But all he does is cry for his lost friend and drinks. In this saddened and alone state, Murad is able to sense Djinn again, and is led to the door to the secret bathroom the bottle is hidden in. However, Murad is too weak even to open the door and ends up drinking to his death. With Murad's death, Lakeem has to be dragged out of his room to become the new king, hiring his favourite girlfriend, who is the largest of them all, known as Sugarlump, to act as governor, and she is able to roam free around the palace. Sugarlump uses a secret bathroom for herself and ends up slipping, breaking the stone slab and finding the Djinn's bottle. The Djinn panics and pleads for her to make her 3 wishes and free him, but she thinks he is a trickster and makes bad wishes. Eventually, after the two argue, she wishes the Djinn back in his bottle at the bottom of the ocean once again. Back in the present, Alethia and the Djinn talk and still cannot convince one another of their view of wishing. Eventually, Alethea says what if she wishes she didn't know him, and this arranges the Djinn at the thought of it, remembering his 3rd story where that actually happened. As you can see here, the two argue about not making wishes, and the Djinn doesn't understand why Alethea doesn't want to make a wish. This is where she threatens to not remember the Djinn, and he, frustrated, enrages at the thought. After the two calm down, the Djinn tells his 3rd story. Eventually a fish eats the bottle and is captured for a wealthy businessman who gives the bottle as a love token to his arranged marriage to his young and 3rd wife. The young woman opens the bottle and finds the Djinn. They tell each other of their stories, and she shows him her inventions. The Djinn finds out she is a creative and intelligent woman, despite not having any education. She makes her first wish of knowing all that is true, useful and beautiful. Wishing for knowledge, basically. The Djinn grants this wish and helps educate her in everything, also allowing her the ability to hide her books in her bottles. With this ability, she could always get Aristotle from a red jar, Euclid from a green jar, and many more in each bottle. She could get this knowledge from them at any time, even without the Djinn. Zifir loved her newfound knowledge, but wanted more. She worked on finding out the mysteries of the universe, and felt like she was close. So for her 2nd wish, she wanted a dream like Djinn, awake, so she could continue working, and the Djinn accepted. However, the Djinn now loved Zifir and heard she was expecting his child. Being afraid she would make her 3rd wish, meaning he would be sent away from her after, he often kept her quiet out of fear she would make a wish. This, of course, annoyed Zifir and made her feel imprisoned again. Every time they argued, he would give her space and control by going into one of her bottles. But one day, as the Djinn was going into the bottle, she wished out of anger that she never remembered the Djinn again, and sadly, this wish came true. The film doesn't explain why he wasn't free after this, as that would have been the 3rd and final wish, but we'll just have to move on. And so, that was how he was imprisoned in Alethea's bottle, until it was found and sold to her. Alethea, after hearing this, finally had a wish, and believed she existed to love the Djinn, and wished he loved her too, which the Djinn agreed. With the Djinn agreeing to be with Alethea, the two head back home to London, where they are stopped by airport security as the scanner finds Djinn's new bottle in her pockets. They demand it goes through the X-ray scanner, but Alethea worries it may affect the Djinn as he is electromagnetic. After scanning the bottle and not detecting anything, security gives the bottle back and Alethea continues to go home. Djinn leaves his bottle not being affected by the scanner, and he talks to Alethea and tells her how thick the air is with radio waves, and how people are using modern technology. He connects with her to show her this, and they spend the next few days in love. After a while, though, we find that Djinn is struggling to deal with the modern world and is turning to dust. Alethea uses her 2nd wish for him to speak and is able to revive him. Seeing her love suffering, she makes her last wish for him to go where he belongs, wherever that may be. The bottle breaks, showing that the Djinn is finally free, and after spending one last night together, we believe the Djinn is sent to the realm of Djinn, where he belongs. After 3 years, however, we see Alethia in a park, writing the story and drawing the Djinn. We then see Djinn walking up the hill to her, and we find that every 3 years he visits her when he recovers from the effects of the modern world, and that he often stays as long as he can, even to the point where it starts harming him again, before leaving to recover for the next 3 years and every 3 years after that. And that's the end of the film. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I think there may be a few things that people may be wondering about this film as well. One of which is if the Djinn actually loved Alethia back, or was forced to, with the wish. I believe this is left slightly unanswered to allow the viewers to make their own decision, but if you would like to know my opinion, I believe he did, at least at the end, as he didn't have to keep going back to see her, and even if he did, not for longer than he needed to. So I think he did care for her, but I would love to hear your views of it in the comments. I was also left a bit confused why he wasn't free after Zifir made her last wish, but perhaps he couldn't get out of the bottle on his own, or he actually needed somebody to wish for his freedom. It's not made too clear in the film, but that may be some reasons why. We also have the questions of whether Alethia imagined all this or not. It is unsure about the two unusual Djinn at the start of the film, the one in the airport and the one at the speech. But I think we can be confident that her imaginary friend as a child wasn't real. However, I believe the main Djinn was real, at least in the film sense, as her neighbours could see and talk to him near the end of the film back in London. I also found when researching and looking at other people's opinions on the film that they were confused when she wanted nothing the whole time, just to want love at the end. From what I understand, I believe she is in denial about wanting love and accepting that she doesn't want to be lonely, but she falls in love with the Djinn after hearing his life and getting to know him. This is shown by the gulp she does like Queen Neba did when she admired King Solomon, and she only knows and allows herself to want to be loved and to love at this moment. So with all that said, we'll start ending this video. I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you enjoyed watching, and once again I would recommend giving it a watch yourself. If you would like to, you can see it on Amazon Prime, or buy it with Google or YouTube. It would also be great to hear what you comrades think of this review and recap, and if you ended up watching the film yourself, or if you've seen it already. I hope to hear from you in the comments. But for now, comrades, I hope you have a good day, and goodbye.